Okay, so it should be going live. Just want to make sure everything is good to go.
All looks good on my side of things.
Okay, perfect. I'm not gonna, yeah, there we go. All right. All right, well, it's just about the hour now. So I wanted to start by welcoming everyone who's joining us on the live stream. Thank you so much for joining us and for this very special opportunity to hear from one of the foremost voices in the seed sovereignty movement. My name is Steph Benoit. I'm the BC Seed Security Program Coordinator here at Farm Folk City Folk. And tonight it is my genuine pleasure and honor to introduce you all to our keynote speaker, Dr. Vandana Shiva, who is joining us today all the way from India, where it's already Saturday morning. Many of you joining this evening are probably familiar with Dr. Shiva and her work, perhaps from the movie that we were just screening. But for those who are not, Dr. Shiva is an Indian physicist, author, environmentalist, and food sovereignty advocate. Through her passionate activism, she fights against the devastating effects of growing corporate control of seeds and defends seed freedom. She has authored over 20 books, including The Violence of Green Revolution, and is a recipient of the Right Livelihood Award, which is popularly regarded as an alternative Nobel Prize. I can personally say that she's also a huge inspiration to me, the BC Seed Security team, and for so many of us who work to make seed security and seed sovereignty a reality worldwide. Although she's not based in BC or even in Canada, we feel like her message carries a common but deeply place-based hope for all of us to celebrate and protect the unique biodiversity and traditional knowledge that is inextricably rooted in the landscape of wherever we find ourselves. So with that, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Shiva.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and greetings to all of you in British Columbia, a land that is so bountiful. I have visited again and again and again, including the universities that have been generous enough to give me honorary doctorates, wonderful friends, and all of you who are saving seeds. For 34 years now, seed saving has been my life's passion, my life's meaning, my life's dedication. And in the process, of course, I've traveled around the world supporting movements that are saving seed. And I have interacted with Seedy Saturdays on one of my trips to Nova Scotia, organized by Av Singh, an amazing agroecologist who comes to us when travel is possible, because every year we organize at Navdanya, the movement I started. And for those who won't know it, Navdanya means 9 seeds, Nav, Danya, but it also means the new gift. So 9 seeds is for diversity, because after 9, you have to go back to 1 and 0, right? You can't go beyond 9 in digits. Everything else is a combination of digits below 9. So the highest symbol of diversity. And the new gift is the new gift of the commons. Because those crazies in the world who have colonized the land, who have colonized our waters, who have colonized cultures. I mean, in Canada, one of the most living discussions is about decolonization. And I remember one time I was in I think it was Calgary, where a new museum for human rights was being created. And the indigenous people wanted me to come for a dinner. They were very troubled that this museum was in their sacred land, which is something that this violation is happening all the time. And, you know, we've always been made to believe the native people just go around and gather, right? They just gather wild stuff. We're made to forget that the Australians have been farmers for 60,000 years. 60,000 years they've been seed saving. They're not bushmen. They're farmers. They need to be our teachers. indigenous communities, you know, that dinner I had, I think they had about 30 dishes. Plants that they grow, plants that they harvest. And even though you're in a country that's so cold and full of snow, food round the year, food round the year. So the colonization of the land went hand in hand with, of course, colonization of knowledge. But the colonization of the seed, as owning it, begins in the 90s. And it's 87, I was invited to a meeting where the corporations were there, the old corporations, I call them the poison cartel. It was too long a story to say. And then there was Ciba and Sandoz, and they merged into Syngenta, and now Syngenta has merged with China. Becomes too muddled. Small bunch of companies, I call them the poison cartel, that worked in Hitler's Germany to make poisons to kill people. And then they said, wow, we can make money out of poisons forever by selling them as agrochemicals and telling the story that without these chemicals, food won't grow. And sadly, my dear Mr. Bill Gates, who's trying to run the world right now, has just done a book. And in his book, he has a chapter called How We Grow Things. First of all, he grows nothing. Yeah. And plants are not things. Seeds are not things. Seeds are not machines he assembles. No, they're living beings. There are relatives. They are memory. They are the future. So at this amazing dinner of indigenous communities, I saw the richness of knowledge, as I have in my own country over these last 34 years of seed saving. Why do I save seeds? Because these poison cartels said, now we'll own the seed. And we'll own the seed through patenting. And a patent means you've invented something. So to claim that they've invented it, they say, we'll do genetic engineering. We'll put one toxic gene. And we'll now be owners. But I said, that's a bit like U-Haul, isn't it? That you hire a U-Haul trailer and you move furniture. But moving furniture is not making a house. It's not designing a house. It's not owning the house. But if we don't allow U-Haul trucks to come and take our property just because they move the furniture from one house to another, how could we allow the poison cartel to get away owning life on earth? I called it bio-nullius. I called it bioimperialism. Because when, lands of the indigenous people was taken over, the legal jurisprudence began with Australia and then went on to every other land, is to define the land as empty. Why was it empty? Because those guys out there, the primitives, are not fully human. And therefore it's empty of us. And being empty of us, it's empty. Exactly the same logic was used for seed. That we haven't put a gene, so it's empty of life. Till then, it's an empty container. And when I see these things, I am talking about legal debates I've had in courts. Our negotiators have had in the GATT, which became WTO, from where they wanted to impose these laws. So the whole idea was 87, they say we'll own the seed through patenting, and we will have an international treaty to make it illegal for farmers to save seeds. They wanted to criminalize seed saving. So Gandhi had a beautiful word for refusing to fall into an unjust, violent thinking or action. And he called it satyagraha. Satya is truth. Agraha is the force of truth that comes from within. And you as seed savers are satyagrahis because you haven't allowed this crazy machine mind to get into you, to think that seed is a commodity that you buy every year and you pay a royalty to the poison cartel, which is why they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now 4, they were 4, they're now back to 4. They control 60% of the world's seed supply. So I decided I'm going to save seeds. And I initially called the movement Seed Saving Movement for lack of better imagination. And while doing seed saving, I was in a very remote area in South India. And this tribal farmer was growing 9 crops in his field. And I had just finished my study, The Violence of the Green Revolution. And remembering that, I got into agriculture because of 1984 protests of the kind that are happening in India today. And I want each of you seed savers to recognize that the protests in India are about the future of the planet. You need to do, you have such a huge community of Indians in your land. Let your Seedy Saturday events become a new consciousness of solidarity as Earth citizens. And that seed slavery anywhere is seed slavery everywhere. Farmers' movements anywhere are movements for the protection of the soul and the soil of every place, everywhere. Do not see the farmers' protests of India as exhibitionism. Don't see them definitely in the polarization of democracy and destruction of discourse that has taken place with the rise of the tech giants, who can just allow any spin to be created out of anything. So not only are you, as seed savers, satyagrahis, you are the rebellion against this world of spin, of post-truth and post-fact, just because there's these amazing digital giants who are now the robber barons, who can work with any power on earth and put any politician in place. The records are so clear. Facebook sold data to Cambridge Analytica, and we got an artificial intelligence president in the United States. But we have no idea how many artificial intelligence rulers are ruling the world just now. And my recent book, Oneness versus 1%, is about this new emergence of this new system. And at the end of it, I talk about resurgence of the real. The seed is real. You are in the revolution of the resurgence of the real, in a period where there is not just extinction of biodiversity, there's extinction of small farmers, there's extinction of cultures, and there's extinction of the real. I mean, I do a lot of reviews of books and discussions, and just 2 books I would ask you all who care about this, understanding that unreal world, the unseed world, anti-seed world. One is called Surveillance Capitalism, to realize that just like seed was reduced to raw material, where genes were mined out and then put somewhere else and patented, we are being reduced to raw material, where our brain functions and our body functions are being mined through data. That's what the information technology and digital technologies are based on. And then take that data, roll it through algorithms, and control our minds to sell us another useless commodity, make us believe we are skiing in the Alps while we are freezing in Texas. All of those augmented realities, they call it. The vocabulary is quite amazing. The mechanical mind has gone on such a long journey and made money, 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 money. The seed makes the journey of life while giving more and more life. What I have learned from the seed is like the quantum. I did my PhD at Western in Canada. And my PhD was on non-locality and hidden variables in quantum theory, on the foundations of quantum theory. And non-locality and non-separability basically teaches us that you cannot separate the world. The quantum world is deeply interconnected. The world of the seed and the plants through the mycorrhizae in the soil is deeply interconnected. Communities, even though they might be diverse, diversity does not mean separation. Diversity means even more dense relationship, because there's more mutuality, there's more cooperation. The mycorrhizal fungi and the plant are very different beings, but without each other, they wouldn't be there. They need each other. Without the pollinators and the seed, we wouldn't get the next generation of seed, would we? So we need diversity. Diversity is the web of life. And this diversity has been bred by people, cultures, ancient cultures. My own country is the source of rice. Yeah, Vavilov was a scientist who marked all the areas where where diversity came from. And I was taught by dear Dr. Risharia, late Dr. Risharia, who was the world's top scientist in rice. I called him when I wanted to save seeds. I didn't know anything about seed saving. So any of you who think, oh, but I don't know about seed, just remember, Vandana Shiva knew nothing about seed. And look at Navdanya, yeah? And coming back to that tribal who taught me when I said, wow, you got 9 crops in your field, because I'd done the Green Revolution book. And seen monoculture of rice, monoculture of wheat, monoculture of rice, monoculture of wheat, and seeing 9. I was in heaven. And I said, you've grown 9 crops together. And he said, yes, Navdanya. And he explained to me that the cosmic harmony is continuous. 9 planets, the 9 crops in my field, and the balance in my body is one continuum of harmony, balance, and peace. And I have a duty to save seeds for cosmic harmony. I have a duty to save seeds for the health of my family and my community. I have a duty to save seeds for the health of the earth. And it was an illiterate farmer who'd never been to school who gave me this seed literacy. So I would say, do something we do at Navdanya. Go to the grandmothers of the indigenous communities. And let that be the university. I started a bead university, Vidyapeeth, the Seed University. Let's keep in touch to see how Navdanya, the Earth University, and you can go to the Navdanya Earth University website and find all the courses that we offer. And till the Zoom world holds, let's hang together there. And when the Zoom world retreats a bit to let the real world come back, let's meet and continue to build this movement. But the beauty, the real beauty of the seed is the same beauty as the quanta. The quanta is merely a state of potential. It's not a thing. It's not this spoon that I'm eating my food with. No, it's just a potential. The psi function is just a potential function. The seed holds the potential for the future. So every climate activist, I know there are more climate activists than seed-saving activists, but every climate activist should know that without the seed, you cannot save the planet. Without the seed, you're going to have GMOs, you're going to have synthetic fertilizer. Bill Gates in his new book is standing in front of a fertilizer mountain and saying, I had such fun. Poor man, if he can have fun looking at a war chemical and thinking it's the answer to the climate disaster, he's really lost it. The point is he can lose it, but he shouldn't make the world lose it, because he's got so much power over our leaders right now. So let me tell you why it is so important to protect biodiversity and why it's so important to protect the reality of seed. So India evolved 200,000 rice varieties. And our ancient name for rice, it's in every ceremony. And one of the things I do with our women seed savers is recall the ceremonies, because in the ceremonies is the preciousness of the seed. And the whole grain, akshat, it's called akshat, the unbroken of rice, is in every ceremony of India. Not only is there in the ceremonies, when we put a tikka, we always put some rice grain here. When, even graffiti actually is originally rice that was thrown at marriages. And, so 200,000 rice varieties. And just like they called the indigenous cultures primitive, barbarians that had to be civilized and extinguished, the extermination of the North American Indians is all in record. The same was done to our seeds. They were called primitive. Our seeds were called primitive. And we were always told, you have to get rid of them because you got to feed the world. Well, the problem is the so-called high-yielding varieties are merely high-yielding in weight, just the weight of this bowl. Does the weight of the bowl decide the nourishment I have in the food inside? No. The weight of a bowl is a weight of a bowl. It's a Cartesian measure. The nourishment is in the seed. It's the potential of the seed to become my health. In the seed is my health. And I'll just share with you some data. We're doing a new report which will be released for International Women's Day before 8th of March. It's called Women Feed the World Through Earth Care. Because we have been made to believe by the militaristic, mechanistic, colonizing mind that extraction is the way to grow. Extraction is the way to grow things. This chemical fertilizer chapter in Bill Gates' book says how we grow things. You don't grow anything. Food is not a thing. A seed is not a thing. Seed is potential. Seed is life waiting to unfold. You cannot prevent its unfolding. So the native seeds, which were called primitive, there's just been some new research done that the native varieties of rice, I'm just looking to see if I can find it. Native varieties of any crop, they might look small, they might weigh less, but they have hundreds of percent more nutrition in them. They're nutritionally dense. So what matters in seed is not its size and its weight. It's not Cartesian. What matters in seed is the nourishment it holds in potential. And so we've got to bring native seeds back through seed saving as an answer to the pandemic. And I'll share with you a little experience. So the lockdown was announced in India with a 4 hours notice. But we have been growing gardens of hope against all the disasters around us. We just say, we keep saving seeds, we keep growing gardens of hope. You can keep messing up the world, but we will recreate the world beginning from the seed, because it begins with the seed. And I would get called from remote areas saying, because we had the seed and because we had the gardens, not only did we not lack food while the supply chains had collapsed, they said we had more immunity. Having our own seeds and our own food, we've never felt healthier. We've never been strong. Health is not an external input. Food doesn't depend on external inputs like fertilizer. Seed does not depend on an external shooting with a gene gun. So, I've done this work now for 34 years, and I can tell you it's been such fun. It's been so much inspiration. I have learned so much from the seed. Lesson 1, don't get exhausted. Lesson 2, well, if the moisture wasn't good enough and the sun wasn't right, just lie low. Lie in the soil and germinate when the conditions are right. Be ready. That's the beauty of potential. It's not instantaneous, but it can never be extinguished. It can never, ever be extinguished. So the work you are doing as Seedy Saturdays, the work you're doing as networks of seed savers has now to evolve into a network of not just seed savers, but creators of food systems that nourish the earth and nourish community, as creators of a new seed politics and a new seed democracy, to stop this blind march to extinction of humanity. So what are the new, I mentioned I started to save seeds because of this meeting of 1987 and the poison cartel. We have in these 34 years, protected the seed country after country. We've stopped the laws that would prevent farmers from seed saving, because all patent law. And sadly, there was a law passed in Canada. I remember one of my trips that makes it illegal for you to have your seed. It's compulsory registration law, and you must continue to fight it, because good seed is the ancient seed. Saving ancient seed is not just a right, it is a duty. And the government is coming in the way if it starts trying to prevent farmers from using their native seeds or saving their seeds from their last harvest. So we defeated the GMOs. Most of the world is GMO free. Most crops are GMO free. So where is the new piracy coming from? Piracy is coming from digital mapping. the information digital technologies are now sneaking into the seed. We'll just take the genome map, yeah, barcode, and own the seed. Never done a thing for the seed, but they'll be the owners and masters. And Bill Gates is running this. For those who want to know more about this, read my book, Oneness versus the 1%, which is published by Chelsea Green for North America. And I have a new book which records all of my life's journey in service and love for the seed. It's called Reclaiming the Commons, Biodiversity and Intellectual Property. And it's been published by Synergetic Press. So you can get all of the deep details. So the new patenting is through digital theft. And by the way, this year, Bill Gates controls all the community of all the seed banks of the world, because he gives a little bit of money. You know, we've built systems over decades. He gives a little bit of grant, and then before you know it, he takes control of public systems. FAO, you're going to control the Food Summit, FAO, WHO, the CGIAR, the Consultative Group of International Agricultural Research. And I know Canada had a big role in creating these public systems. And you need to build a public movement to ensure stopping the privatization of the public supply of seed. It begins with the community, like your Seedy Saturdays, but then it has to be regional, national, even the global has to be in the public domain. As far as GMOs are concerned, Bill Gates' new trick is gene editing, as if life is a word program on which he has a patent. No, life is complex, self-organized, potential for adaptation under any condition. You can't cut and paste it. You change one gene, you edit one gene from one place to another, you change 1,500 related genes and their location. This complexity, if you are blind to it, you will not see it. But if you're awake to it, you realize this is not a precise technology. It's crude, it's clumsy, and it has absolutely no ability to understand the harm and take responsibility for it. So in the little seed, and in your little seed saving of Seedy Saturdays, you are holding the potential of another world. There is no work more important than what you're doing. I send you my best wishes, my seedy greetings from India, from my hometown. And let's stay strong like the seed stays strong, even when you think, oh, it's just lying there. Holding your potential to become from a little seed to an amazing tree, shooting down your roots, shooting out your branches. Every bit of our learning of how to be more human, we can learn from the seed. From the seed, we can reclaim our humanity. From the seed, we can reclaim our reality. From the seed, we can reclaim our freedom. That is why I talk of seeds of freedom and seeds of hope. And having just started to save every seed I could, we have seeds of climate resilience that can tolerate salt and floods. Again, Bill Gates wants to own that also. I mean, someone asked me the other day, why are you after Bill Gates? I said, no, I'm not after Bill Gates. He happens to be after anything I love. So no matter what, where I take the next step, there's a Bill Gates hanging there. And I say, oh, little spoiled boy, get out of my way. In your mind, you're still a thoroughly spoiled boy, never grew up. You might have a lot of money, you might have a lot of power, but you have not evolved. Learn from the seed how to evolve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel like that really contextualized what we're doing, these events that sometimes feel small and individual, no matter how local they are, there is this wider ripple. And thank you for contextualizing that as well. I think we had a few questions from our farm folk staff, and and I'm gonna pass it over to David if you wanted to ask a follow-up.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, Vandana. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi. Yeah. So, we're all virtually gathered here today. We're pretending we're at this small little grassroots Seedy Saturday event, and these are celebrations of seeds that happen at this time of year around Canada. So I'm wondering why to you are events that promote and celebrate local seeds like Seedy Saturdays important? And I'm sure you've been to many. I'm wondering if you have a favorite memory of a seed event you've been to.
I think the reason these seed events are important is because they enable us to not forget that seed is alive to the extent it is exchanged. And I will tell you a seed event. My mind now comes back to India, where, in the heart of where the seed diversity of rice evolved. It's a tribal area, Chhattisgarh. And I was traveling the country to tell people about how the corporations wanted to own the seed and going into remote areas. And in this one area, they said, come back for the Akti festival. And I went back. In a forest, remote area. The community had about 200 varieties of rice. They brought them all in these lovely cups made of leaf, the sal leaf. And then they brought it together and made a common offering. And who's their divinity? A little rock, a little piece of stone was their village deity. And they offered this rice and made it one. And then they went through a whole ceremony. But the two things that stay in my mind from the ceremony is they said, the seed is not your property. It's not yours. It's a commons. That's where I realized the seed is a commons. And so the Seedy Saturdays and your gatherings are reclaiming community and reclaiming the commons of seed. The second thing I remember particularly from that event is they went through a whole beautiful ceremony from the seed to its sprouting, to its giving a harvest, to its threshing, to becoming seed again. And the second thing I went away with is in the seed is the cycle of seed. That seed becoming seed is how seed should be. Seed becoming property and becoming non-renewable is a violation of the seed. It is making the seed an anti-seed, because seed, in my language, is bija. Ja is life. Bija is that from which life arises on its own forever and ever and ever. That permanence of life that the seed holds is the permanence of life and community and commons, which is democracy, that you are reclaiming through your Seedy Saturdays.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Thank you
pass
so
on
much.
a question now for Siri to ask.
Great. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask, I know in Canada and North America right now, we are seeing a huge rise in glyphosate resistant corn and people using increasing amounts every year. And I was just wondering what you think we as just citizens can do to help prevent this spread of the use of GMOs.
I think the more we spread the love for native seed, the more we spread the awareness that native seeds hold nutrition. Canada is such a rich country, just get research done on native seeds. And we have done a lot of work where we measure nutrition per acre and not yield per acre. And our work is showing that if we saved seeds and did organic farming nationwide in India, we could feed 2 times India's population. So all the time, high-yielding varieties of the Green Revolution were brought in the name of feeding the world. The GMOs were brought in the name of feeding the world, but they've actually led to famine and starvation. Because why are 1 billion people hungry all the time now? Why? Why are the forests being invaded for GMO soy in the Amazon? Is it because people are saying, give us GMO soya oil? No, 90% of the GMO soya goes for biofuel and animal feed. So the best way to stop this expansion of GMOs and glyphosate and Roundup is to build the ecological system with a light footprint and a regenerative system, which is what you're doing. 2, spread deeper awareness between pandemics like what we are suffering and an agricultural model that has to invade into forest areas, has to invade into other people's farmland. My country's farmers are protesting because they can see the global system wanting their land. And they have held that land for millennia. On small, the same 2-acre farm has been in the hands of that same family as far as memory can go. And they're watching these greedy billionaires, including Bill Gates is now the biggest landowner. Yeah. So why are the greedy getting into agriculture? Because, as Kissinger said, if you control food, you control people. And I say, if you control seed, you control the earth. So we have to build the other systems, but we have to also resist. And I'm so glad now there are more and more countries banning glyphosate. Germany will get it out by 2023. And we have to expose the lies of the poison cartel and the Bill Gates, the billionaires, the big tech, and the poison cartel. And it's a handful. It's about 10 rich people. That's what we are talking about, 10 billionaires. And that, if you want to know more, read my book. But Zuckerberg is getting into agriculture. Google is getting into healthcare. And I'm saying, you made a lot of money in information technology. Stick there. Don't invade into our bodies. Don't invade into our seed. Don't invade into our lands. So when I gave this bigger picture of interconnections rather than just seed saving, it's because in the seed is the potential to make a bigger system. And while you are seed savers, we have to be reclaimers of our food system and build another food system. And that means exposing the lie of the bad food system.
Wow, thank you so much. I really hope to one day be those researchers in Canada, go against the glyphosate. I'm going to pass it on to Carla to ask a question.
Thank you, Seedy, and thank you so much, Dr. Shiva. It's an honor to be with you on this call. You're so inspirational, and it really brings hope and excitement to my soul to be involved in Seed and to do this work. And so my question is, since the pandemic started, we've seen an unprecedented rise in seed sales and people starting gardens. People have been getting back to grassroots, which I think is absolutely fantastic and very encouraging. And I'm wondering if you think that this trend will continue, and do you think we're making a turn, making a shift with this pandemic and into the future?
Well, if you study carefully, both the pandemic as it is and a lot of powerful people have plans on the post-pandemic future, including the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. They've laid it all out. They basically said, we'll close all doors. We'll close all doors on real stuff, yeah? It'll all be a digital world. And for them, it's a permanent crisis, yeah? They will create. Not that the corona will create it, they will create it. And because it's very profitable. I mean, look at how much trillions the digital barons walked away with. While people were locked down, Amazon made more money. While the children could not go to school, the Googles and the Microsofts made more money. Every time there's a program used, there's a royalty going to them, there's a patent royalty going to them. So what I would say is the fact that the pandemic led to people becoming more aware of what is vital, what is necessary. In the middle of the pandemic, they didn't say, what's the latest throwaway clothing I can buy today? That's not what people were thinking. They were thinking, how can I have food? They were thinking, what should I do in order to create a safe world for me and future generations? So the reality dawned on people. The vitality of the seed dawned on people. The essentialism, that this is essential, that next junk clothing is not. Yeah. So this is what I call the resurgence of the real. It'll become even more important as time passes. It will not go away. And consciously, we should not allow it to go away. Consciously, we should not just spread these movements of seed saving, But the reason I connected it to all the other layers is those other layers will become problematic for people. We're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose community. That's why we have to rebuild community around the seed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I wanted, just in closing, to ask a final question of, you've been doing this work for so long and with so much enthusiasm and passion. I was wondering what gives you hope and what makes you keep going in this work?
Well, I already mentioned what, my teacher has been the seed. And my lessons that I've learned from the seed is whatever you are doesn't come from the outside. The seed is a self-organized system. That little seed might be a tiny mustard seed, but it'll give you 1,000 mustards. It might be a little millet. The reason the millets are called millets is because they give a million seed, million according to the Latin, 100,000. One little millet seed. So in that little seed is the potential of becoming 100,000. Yeah. And every day when I'm saving seeds, I'm not just thinking of the one that I'm saving. I'm thinking of the 100,000 is going to become. Therefore, I must give all my love and care, all my protection. Must be there for the seed. Do not let it be pirated and manipulated and owned and destroyed. So just the way, I have a lovely boy. And till today, I remember the day he was born, long time ago. But all the love you give to your children and all the protection you give to your children. The beauty is the more a parent gives love to their child, the parent becomes a better human being. And therefore we have to shift from economy as taking and grabbing and extraction to economy as giving. In giving, we create other economies. So the fact that now, it's 5 decades of activism for me. 5 decades of, in beginning with the Chipko movement, the protection of the forest movement, the hug the tree movement. And I know it came to British Columbia for the old growth forests also. Sadly, the recent tragedy in Uttarakhand, in my region, has been exactly where that movement started, because they did not listen. I mean, the deforestation we stopped the commercial logging, but the dam building and the hydroelectric projects have just gone on with insanity as if there's no limit. But nature keeps putting limits, and the blind will not see. So if you want to be exhaustless, you want to not get tired of what you do, not get lethargic, just remember that energy does not come from outside. It comes from within you in relationship to the seed, to your community. So reclaim your within. That's you. That's the true self. And reclaim your relationship. Nourish your relationships. The more you give, the more you are.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Shiva. Thank you for joining us and for inspiring us and for setting just such a good tone for the rest of this conference, and really inspiring us all to keep going with this work. It's been such an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those in DC, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we hope to see you for the rest of the conference this weekend. And for Dr. Shiva, enjoy your Saturday and the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.